Hey, what's up my immortal nerds? Great having you again on my channel after all this time. Today with a full comeback of Whirlwind to our PvP and PvE gameplay. Finally, fully valid wall builds that let you carry your team in Battlegrounds and let your Barbarian shine again in dungeons after we took some heavy nerfs. New essences are out there since a few days, so let's take a look together into some new S-tier possibilities. Get ready for some heavy damage. Let's play. So it's finally time to let our whirl shine. We asked for that a lot, didn't we? Out of the 6 new essences, those 2 are the best and really useful. Bloodseizer for the wrath and reel of kattas for our whirlwind. Full 30% attack speed and 50% damage boost. This is really something. For the other essences, let's make it short. Helmet is waste, shoulder is waste, and chest, sadly, waste too. Stun immunity is missing, and without that it's pretty useless. Only the pants is valid for the last season's auto barb build. There it gets a good usage for the leap combination. But Whirlwind beats that one. So let's look into the Whirlwind stuff. Let the grind begin for the magic affix of the Whirlwind range. Even if strived for PvP, this is now the most important affix to look for. On top, 2 1-star gems will have their stage again, Trickshot and Falter Grasp. We're gonna see them later in the PvE and PvP build, both really good. And we are looking into all the different combos, what stacks and what not. Promised sunrise? No, not anymore. Okay guys, let's begin with the PvE build. With that build on the puppet test, we get a really good 15 million DPS spike at the beginning and then a constant 10 million DPS out. And it's really nice because it's single target damage. And with that and the huge range of the Whirlwind, you're gonna deliver that damage to the whole crowd of enemies you're running through really fast. And this build really shines when it works together with other people and you play together with other people. You're gonna see that the damage even gets crazier. It multiplies very good together with other people. But why does it work so good? Where does the damage come from? So let's look at this all-round build you can use for any occasion. You can use it for the dungeon, for raids, you can use it even for challenge rifts, for a lot of stuff. We look through the different essences you need, you get your classic build overview, and we're gonna look at some variants of that build as well. If you're taking more damage or not producing that much damage, whatever, you get a variant for that as well, that you can use it for yourself. So, classic all-round build, we go with Whirlwind, Wrath, the Demo and Sprint to be fast of course. The damage combo, the main combo, comes from the new essence Reel of Kattas. That means we have a high attack speed, 30% attack speed boost on our Whirlwind and a higher damage itself. It's the highest damage on Whirlwind so far on the essences. And we combine it with the 5 fresh claws. That essence got boosted lately as well. It gets up to a 30% attack damage boost, but it stacks on each enemy, so it's not that good for open world farm, but it's really good for dungeons and especially for bosses, so for dungeon bosses or raid bosses or whatever, because there you get the whole potential out of it. Then we have a nice bleed combo working here with the new Wrath essence, the bloodseizer. It brings us a 50% damage boost while Wrath is active, and we activate it via the ox horns. Those ox horns now were improved as well, stacking 3 times a good solid bleed on the enemy that enables that 50% damage for the Wrath. And then we combine it with the Lion's Mane. We resolve that damage. So we have a super fast Whirlwind that deals blood damage to anything within our range, and then we resolve it with the Lion's Mane. It's a pretty cool working combo with a lot of damage. We even improve that resolve mechanic with the Angmans. That gets another dot on the enemies, stacking again, but it's a fire dot this time. So how do we want to resolve our dots? With the demo, of course, with the old from the last season helmet, the Whirling Howl. And this is a wind damage, so it's really nice to combine it with the Angmans, because then the demo damage firestorms. And this is again a nice boost. Other boosts that we have are the affixes, of course. So every Whirlwind range affix you have will improve your damage in dungeons heavily, because range is everything there. That's why satyrs are working so good with their huge AoE attack range. And we need that as well. Wrath of the Berserker AoE is good as well. Not that important as a Whirlwind, but still go for it if you can. And another boost is the Snowdrifter. We still want to do our loss of control damage from the Vengeance Reforges. So we want that Snowdrifter in here. You could go with any leap combination as well, but then only those in the small area where the leap hits are really slowed for a short time, and anything around it not. You need to leap very often. It's kind of awfully. So Snowdrifter works pretty good. And the magic affix for the demo that slows enemy sadly doesn't work here, because it's just working once initially when demo gets triggered. Not every hit slows the enemy, just the first initiation. So we need something. Snowdrifter, good idea here. Gems are pretty easy. Everything that makes damage, of course. This is a good thing to go. And if you want to go for a more relaxed variant here, you can go with a damage gem, replace it with a trick shot. Trick shot is nice because it gives you a longer duration of your whirlwind channeling. So you do not need to look that carefully for everything. When do you whirl and when not? The new main essence refills, recharges your whirl, but the issue is we resolve the dots. So sometimes, because it's just recharging every once a second, sometimes it's not recharging because exactly in that time we resolve the bleed dot on the enemy. So if you do not want to be that active, you want to just passively grind dungeons or anything, take in the trick shot. It will make your life easier. Okay, looking at the build overview, we see all of that essences in here. Whirling Howl, Helmet for the demo with the Lion's Mane. We have then the Burden of the Nothingness. Why not the Sunrise? Well, we will take a look at this after this one. Okay, we have the bloodseizer for the Wrath. Duration is everything, so beneficial effect duration is really important. I brought you a little sheet here later on how you can min-max that essences, legendaries and affixes on that to get the best result. We have Whirl, of course, Reel of Kattas, the new essence with the 5 fresh claws. We have the Ox Horns for the world, so very supported Whirl, and the Snowdrifter for the sprint. For gems, trick shot if you like to improve the whirl duration, otherwise damage, and some damage maybe. Wolfheart is pretty nice. We have a lot of hits. We have the dots, the resolve, the whirl itself. Wolfheart works perfectly here, and the roiling for just crit. Crit is important. We go in this case with the Harbinger. The Harbinger really helps us as a Paragon tree because we can get some crit. There are all other alternatives, even that we can check on later. I have a little slide for that, but Harbinger brings you flat 50% crit damage because of the max, or 14%, max movement speed 7%, you can double it to 14%, you have a flat improvement of 14% crit. And while we don't have any crit essences in here, nothing really boosts our crit, we need the Harbinger or something similar to get to our desired damage. Sets 4-piece augments, 2-piece vithus, 2-piece Baron. Why Baron? To improve our dots, to make them last longer, to improve our loss of control, effects on the enemy, that's all nice, and boosts our damage. And then lastly, Eternal Affix, of course, Whirlwind, get the Whirlwind, and Wrath if you have some space. So why now Sunrise? Check the new essence. The main hand gives you 30% attack speed. The promised Sunrise boosts your movement and attack speed, and we tested with the Terror Unburdened, of course, that makes that frequent hit to show you how it works. And we need a bleed shoulder, so complete test setup to show you what it's up. We go first just regular without any demo, and you will see we hit the we refill with the bleed and hit the puppet, and we come to a damage overall after 14 seconds of 2.2 million damage. Nothing spectacular, just to get an idea how much damage we deal. Now we first go with the demo, hit the puppet to refill and stack our promised sunrise 3 times. We get the acceleration, and then we directly start whirling. So we should have an effect of the initially improved attack speed. That decreases them, definitely, but it should be more damage. And when you look at it after 14 seconds again, we are again at 1.9, 2 million approximately. There are always some crit differences, definitely, but at the same damage. So it does not stack, and that's why we do not use it. Same goes then later with a movement speed, but that's then later. Okay, there is definitely the chance for you to go with a variant. We have our old whirl essence with the endless whirl, the fallow field. That was initially planned to go with the bug breaker because of that self-inflicted damage and anything. But if you want to be more relaxed, even more relaxed, you do not want to care anything about the whirl duration or anything, then the fallow field is of course a good alternative. But you will take more damage because it drains you. So most play it together with the roar of persuasion. That boosts your crit damage, not your crit chance, but your crit damage. And with that together, you get always with the life drain from the roar of persuasion, you get a good damage and you stay alive. So this is the most relaxing whirl variant you can have. But the new essences, the two whirl and wrath new essences, they deal a bit more damage. Okay, so this is less damage, but if you're high res and you do not want to look at it, this might be good for you. If you need damage, if you want to push, the proposed essences before are better. Because many are asking, many are telling me there's a bug, the Whirlwind gets smaller when I activate Wrath or when I'm using the Paragon with the additional size. Here a test for you, and that shows you that it's just a visual bug and not a real bug. We go with the 4/4 affix of the range, and we stay in regular form, whirl, and you see we are exactly hitting the spot. We're going to the place where we first hit the puppet, the maximum range. And then, next, we activate the Wrath. And you see the whirlwind looks smaller, but it's still hitting the puppet. So the bug is not a real range bug, it's just a visual bug, okay? The same, by the way, happens for the Colossus. It looks really big when the Colossus hit sometimes, and it looks like he walls over the whole screen. But this is not happening, sadly. It still has the same range as you see now, regular range, and it's not hitting the stuff then that looks like it should hit. Okay, so it works in both directions. The range always is constant and correct. The visual is just a bit buggy. Now we are not going with any primary related build anymore. No crazy combo out of primary and skill like we had with the hammer or anything. We are going with raw skill based damage. That means we need to look at our reforges. In the past I had the Vengeance 3-piece Vengeance bonus that brings you that 2% chance to deal for 1 second, that can prolonged with the beneficial effect, deal 100% additional damage. That stuff is not working anymore, of course. And as we want to go with an all-round build that can be used in PvE and PvP with just some adjustments, we can now say goodbye to the Vengeance. I do not want to go with the Whirlwind with any combination anymore. You could go, of course, for the Wildfire, or you could go for a PvP based build for the Jolt, Tremor or anything. But for now, I go with a full damage oriented combo, and instead of the attack speed that do not stack anyway, it's just a 30% on the new essence, doesn't work with any stuff. I go for the PvE damage to elites or pure skill damage. Okay, no bonus, just more damage. So now you have your full spec of essences and everything, and you need to adjust your magic affixes on the different things. You need whirl, but on which slots, and you need a demo slope, which is really good for then later the PvP build. you need wrath somewhere, and you still need some good stats. So how should you organize it? Because there are nice possibilities now with the Terra Essences to craft, with the Rhodolite to craft, you know. You can really choose the skill you want to have or the affix, and with that you can get to that desired result here I'm showing you really nice. You need Whirlwind range, demo slow, wrath AoE, loss of control duration, and a shield on low HP. Those are nearly the best affixes you can have here to get a good build result. On the head you should focus on the demoralize slow, because it's a good slot. You cannot put in anything else there that helps you. Chest, you can go for the whirl range and wrath AoE, and for the chest and the pants you should have some beneficial effect duration in here. This helps you a lot for your wrath to keep it up as with just one essence on the offhand as long as possible. Wall range for the pants as well. Shoulder then can be really stat oriented. Take a good shoulder with good stats, and if you get the shield on low HP on that slot, you can be really happy. Next, for the main hands, both can be equipped with a wall range or the wrath AoE. You should go for that in there, and with the new Rhodolite craft you can even go for multiple where you got both. It's not that rare anymore, and with the enchantment definitely possible. Offhands then go for stats again and try to get the loss of control duration stat in here. That prolongs, it has a 16% on crit hit chance. It's 60% prolonging the loss of control durations on enemies on a crit. So this is nice. If you have it twice, you get a good boost of your slow on the enemy to deal that loss of control damage from the vengeance. So this could be your setup as a little orientation. Maybe it helps you. And lastly, I said I go for the Harbinger because of the crit. This is what I prefer the most. You could even go for different combinations for farming. You could say, okay, forget the 5 fresh claws. Here I take the crit, wall, chest, for example, and go then for a farm Paragon tree like the Vanquisher, where you can get a flat damage boost and can focus on more orb drops for the cooldowns, or even the treasure find to get better items. Or you could say I go for the Slinger, where you say you do a lot of activation of your skills. You just rotate and you activate your skills again and again. Then you can build up that damage and crit boost really good from the Slinger, but it's difficult of course for a raid where you just activate it once, all of the skills, and then maybe twice. You will never get to the full bonus. But if you keep constantly running like an open world, the Slinger is really good here as well. So that's my PvE wall build. That brings me to top 1 damage dealer in dungeons nearly all of the times. Next, I show you my PvP wall build that brought me to legend with only 100 battles and a win rate of 76%. It's really fun to play, and again, after we were doomed to that auto fight tanks, we now have the chance to shine again as carries for our team. We still use the auto barb perks, but this is definitely no auto battler build. So let's take a look at my wall bomb. We go with definitely wall, wrath, the demo, and the undying rage. That's a signature move. We are not going into crazy stuff. It's a good solid build. First, we start with the wall speed. So we take our 30%, sadly not stackable, attack speed of the reel of kattas, which is really good. Okay, don't get me wrong, 30% is nice. It's like a permanent vithus activation. It's working good. And we take the terror unburduned. So yes, auto battle helmet, but we can move freely while we whirl. So mostly we whirl. And with the latest patch update, where you can now move freely when there is no enemy around, we get to max speed, 70% movement speed in Battleground with that helmet. That's cool. We can go to battles extremely quick. We whirl faster while we have that movement speed, so we move just faster. And yeah, with that, the combination is just awesome. We take the damage combo of the ox horns from the shoulder. to just deal a lot of bleed damage, and the bloodseizer here to use that bleed. And while we are on PvP, the durations of bleeds are smaller, especially if your potency is low, so don't get me wrong, you don't have to build up crazy potency, no need for that. But we don't resolve the dots all of the time, so the dot stays longer on the enemy. It's different from the PvE build where we permanently resolve the dots. We do not do this here, we keep the dots and just remove it, resolve it from time to time. So bloodseizer will work, and that 50% damage boost is a heavy damage boost for PvP because it's not strived. Every bonus from sets and legendaries is not strived like the gems or stuff. So you get full potential of that 50%, and this is the key why Whirlwind now works in PvP. We do deal damage now. We are still tanky. Terror Unburdened, that 30% damage reduction, we still have it, it's nice. And we go with the Burden of Nothingness. That brings us another 20% attack damage reduction on the enemies. So those two stack because they have a different aim. One is on you and one is on the enemies. They do not negate each other. So we are still tanky. Of course we are more squishy because we are directly in the enemies while we wall into them. But still a good thing for especially high armor values on you. You are still tanky with that. And then we burst. So it's not only the wall. We do not just deal damage with the basic wall that is already good. No, we go with the seeds set. 4-piece seed set. Mean we deal another 30% of the damage we dealt while we channeled after we stopped channeling. And this is a good burst damage because it's always critting, it's always hitting. You cannot avoid that 30% damage. And while people are running away from us, we wall, we get them for a time, then they feel confident because they have some HP left. We still battle them, and then they start running when they get low to 20 or 10% HP, and then we stop channeling and they just explode. It's a nice thing to do. And we combine it, of course, with the ox horns, where we have our bleed damage on the enemy, and we have the lion's mane in here. So when we stop whirling, because we still have that helmet on us, we start auto-attacking with an AoE attack. So that attacks hits pretty often. It does not deal that much damage, but it resolves our 3 times stacked bleed on the enemy. So when we stop whirling, our seeds explode and our resolve explode. That means most of the time you just have to wall them down to 50 or 30% HP and then let it go funny. Good. And then get them all. What the hell? We need crit. We can, of course, go with the variant. I will show you that after that one. But go for the indignant survivor. We always get damage, and we get the full potential of 36% crit chance of our wall. That is so nice. Together with the 50% boost, the wall really hurts. And then, after all of that, we have no slow, no real slow, okay? Go for the helmet with the demo essence, where you can slow the enemy for I think 2 or 3 seconds for 20% movement speed. This is a loss of control. It works, it improves our damage, but take in consideration to put in one 1-star gem, the Falter Grasp. This gem is pretty nice. As soon as you deal a crit to the enemy, you remove his movement, you slow his movement speed, and you block dashes. So when you wall into enemies, they cannot dash away. They are slowed twice by your helmet, by the demo, and by the Falter Grasp. And this combination is really nice. That's why you can hunt enemies even without a pull and knockback or anything. It's a very good combo. So look at my Whirlwind Bomb. The build overview shows you the essences again, Terror Unburdened, and the lion's mane for the demo, together with the Burden of Nothingness. For the Wrath, we have the bloodseizer, and for the wall, we go with the Ox, the Reel of Kattas, and the Indignant Survivor. The pants slot is sadly dead. There's nothing you can do with that one. Any combination with the wall where you could use the pants would be a sprint combination with this useless. When we go with the Terror Unburdened, we have no benefit of it. or with the leap. Of course, there could be a combination with the leap, but I tested it out and it kind of sucks because we have not enough damage. But if you want to go with a cool damage build with whirl, that one is your ticket. Okay, gems, folder grasp and more are good gems to control the enemies a bit, to pull them or keep them at your position. Then you need a lot of damage gems like the pain clasp, the crimson, the that reaper thing here, how's it called, the Morn skull, and everything that brings you damage. Again, wolf heart is a very nice idea for that. Many hits from whirl, from bleed. Wolf heart works good here as an additional damage source. And then the roiling, we need crit. Still we need crit, roiling is still a good thing. And then Jade, of course, and all of the things. Only Bottled Hope is not working good because it's just not working. It's not boosting you in any way. Okay, for the sets, 4-piece seats for the channel, again for the bombing. If you want to go with crit for the sets, like with the banquet, I cannot tell you that's a good idea because I tested it and I only get to 3 or 4 stacks at max, and it feels kind of clumsy to go with that because I do not have enough dot gems in this setup. And if you would go for dot gems, then you would still lack the damage from the whirl. So try to get in damage gems here and go with a seed set. 30% damage boost and then 30% activation damage after you stop channeling. 2-piece vithus we needed, 2-piece Baron again as well to keep the slow on the enemies working, folder grasp and the demo and stuff to keep it more on them, and of course to increase our bleed damage. Good. And then lastly for the Paragon, I like the Gladiator with the cheat death, of course, but then we go for the 2 damage boosts with the Grizzled Veteran and the Bloodthirsty, I think it's called. Those 2 effects that can be enhanced, that gives you just more damage when something kills around you or something dies around you and you kill enemies. And while we are having here a damage build, this is really a good idea. Okay, Eternal Affix, definitely Magic Affix, the whirl range, and 1 demo slow should be good. Then you can, even if the folder grasp runs out and you stop channeling, you can just hit him once and he's again slowed, and you can deal increased damage from your loss of control reforges. You can have a look at the burst effect here on the puppet. I tested it for you, or to make it visible. We just whirl for a while, then we stop. We get a 1 million hit from just stopping to whirl. This is from the 4-piece seats. And then we just hit him once automatically in auto battle mode with the demo, and we get another 1 million crit. And this is now from resolving the 3 times stacked bleed. So this is why it's working pretty good in PvP. If people are running away and you just stop whirling, they get damage. And if you whirl into an enemy pulp with many people, you can just regularly stop whirling for a short amount of time. You can start whirling anytime again because we have that full CC immunity from our Terror Unburdened. And you can just do this from time to time to deal increased amount of damage. Some other combinations, because there's a huge variety of stuff you could build for that whirl build, and we need to look at the stuff, starting with the range of the wrath bleed. I tested it here with a cleave, so you see we hit him once with a cleave, we do that 2,900 damage. With the wrath we go up to a 4,400 bleed damage that is happening, and you see that is an increase of 50% damage once an enemy bleeds. That's exactly the point. The bleed damage itself is raised, of course, as well. And I go step by step, I go back, hit it again while under wrath, and you will see that bleed is still working. It's, no matter how far I run away, still raised by 50%. This is a nice thing if you consider any completely dot-based build, because wherever you run, you get this bonus. The point of the reduction, meaning it's only regarding to the distance you are away from the enemy, is only for the movement speed. So the movement speed, and you see it, the farther I run away from the puppet, the movement speed then decreases, and the icon here on myself, the buff is going away and reappears once I enter the range of the bleed. So this is interesting to know, but we do not care because we go with the Terror Unburned. We are fast all of the time. But for you as an information, the bleed is the damage bonus from the bleed is available no matter your distance from the enemy. Next bleed related topic. We have one essence, it's a Falling Thunder, that says you can Wrath now also can do this. It can also deal additional damage to bleeding enemies. Okay, so it's something that should work in addition to a modification on the rest. So in addition to our bloodseizer. We tested here. Once we hit the puppet with a different equipped essence, we look at the damage. It's regularly 3000. With the Wrath, it's now 4500. So we have our reference value. Change now the essence to the Falling Thunder. Now we should deal 80% more damage, not just the 50 from the first. But as you look at it now, the texts are both valid. They're not grayed out as inactive or anything. It should work. But if we now activate the Wrath and hit the puppet again, you see we are still on the 4500. So stack is not working for those two essences, sadly. Otherwise we would go wild with the Whirlwind. Another big topic that you have is the stacking of attack speed for the Whirlwind. We have that stacking 10% attack speed on the new kattas means 30% overall. So first we can check the vithus. We attack with the 2-piece vithus and see for the full channel duration, because attack speed normally affects the channel duration as well. It's an attack speed animation, and we just whirl as long as we can and count the damage until the end. And you see we are going to a 2.2 million damage with a 2-piece vithus. Now we change to the 4-piece vithus. That should now bring us at least to 40 or 45% attack speed if it's indirectly stacking. And yeah, we whirl again for the whole duration, and you see we are landing at 2.2 million damage. So those two are not stacking. Next, the Promised Sunrise. Here again, it should be with the demo activation of the helmet. Should bring us a benefit, should make our whirl faster. So once we attack with the regular whirl, channel for the whole duration of time, and then we activate the demo, let it hit for a few times until we got this bonus. It should be then faster, at least for the first 3 or 4 seconds. But you see again, we land at the same amount of damage, no difference at all. Those two do not stack again. Next test is for gems. So we want to check the Grim Rhythm. First we go with the regular gem. I try to get the same rank with no crazy damage multiplicator or anything to test it. Then again we whirl for the whole duration, check for the damage. And you see we're going at our regular numbers again, 1.9 million. We now change to the Grim Rhythm. That should bring us an attack speed modification once we hit an enemy with a stacking and improving attack speed. So again, puppet test, whirling for the whole duration, and you see we are not getting any additional damage. We sticking to our 2 million damage. This is pretty annoying, but it's at least good to know that you can focus on damage, because all of that different attack speed stuff is not working. Lastly, to make it complete, We even tested, of course, an essence itself that improved our directly attack speed. The new essence, by the way, the headpiece for the Wrath, that brings us 20% attack speed. First, we go with the regular essence for the head, so to have our reference values. Activate the rest well for the whole duration, and we come again to the regular values of 2 million damage. Then we change the essence to the new one, and I wouldn't show it to you if it's, if there's any unexpected result. We just whirl again for the whole duration, and you see we are landing again 1 million, 2 million, same amount of damage. It's not stacking, even from that new helmet. It's pretty annoying, but that's it. At the end, I want to talk about a little variant here. I think some of you will not have enough armor penetration, will not be damage dealing enough, and need more time to actually deal your damage. Don't get me wrong, this damage boost from the essences, from the gems and everything will work for you. So no matter in which bracket you play, you definitely will get higher players with that and can actually deal damage to a lot of mobs, even when they are grouping, or especially if they're grouping up at the idle or anything. So a variant here for you could be, if you have enough crit chance. So roiling plus lament is a good idea to do here. If you have enough crit chance, you could change the chest, not go for the whirl crit anymore, but go to the gathering. Means you pull the enemies together, and by this you annoy them, of course, a lot. And if you then go even further, a step further, where you say I enchant my legendaries and choose the affix that says a knockback can by chance transform into a stun. So by chance you can just by knockbacking, which Whirlwind actually is, it is a knockback, can modify it into a stun. Then you have a nice combo. Okay, if that's especially good for the offense, a good slot for that where you can put it, and then you can whirl through the enemies and stun them all, because you have so many hits on them that one of them definitely stuns. So it's a good alternative here to be a bit more disruptive to the enemies, but you need then crit source anywhere else, because otherwise you're just whirling around without doing any damage. So it's good to have damage here. But you can try it out if it works for you. Yeah, overall I think that's a pretty good addition to our set of PvP and PvE builds for the Barbarian, as the Sunder PvE build does not work anymore, as they ruined our Maw shoulder. Yeah, I think that one is the new best damage PvE build you could use. So try it out. I think for PvP, this is sometimes a kamikaze build. It's nice, it's dealing a lot of damage, you can do crazy things. If you want to go to a more solid tank-based build, I think take a look at Inder's video with his Leap Breaker update with the new Leap Chest Essence and the new Leap, or from the last season, Leap Main Hand. It's a nice thing to do. I think they can guard the idol a bit better, but when it comes to damage, it's really this wall build is dealing like 5 times the damage of that build. So good variant here. Check out his video. It's a nice video, and test out this build, of course, to get a good arsenal for your next Battleground session. I had a lot of fun with this build and this Barb alternatives, and after my short Immortal break, I'm happy to be back and to annoy you guys again in the PvP. So leave me a like if you enjoyed this content, and see you soon, my friends.